If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. You've got a podcast idea brewing, but how do you know if it's the one? What if you spend time recording, editing, and launching only to hear crickets? Before you invest hours into something that might not resonate, let's make sure your podcast topic is set up for success. In this episode, I'm walking you through 4 simple steps to validate your podcast idea before you launch so you can start strong and attract the right audience from day one. Let's dive in. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Sonoson, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. Hey there, and welcome back to Podcasting for Moms. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm here to help you start, grow, and scale a podcast that fits into your life as a busy mom. If you're tuning in today, I know you have a podcast idea brewing, but you might be wondering, how do I know if this is the right idea? Will people actually listen? How can I be sure I'm not wasting time and energy launching something that won't gain traction? If these questions sound familiar, you're in the right place. Today, we're breaking down how to validate your podcast topic before you launch so you can move forward with confidence. Let's get started. So before we dive into the how, let's talk about the why. As moms, we have 0 time to waste. Between running a business, raising little ones, and managing day-to-day life, the last thing you want is to pour hours into a podcast only to realize months later that your audience isn't resonating with the topic. Validating your podcast idea upfront saves you time, helps you attract the right listeners, and sets you up for long-term success. And trust me, when you have clarity on your topic, everything else, your content, marketing, and mom station flows so much more smoothly. So let's jump into the 4 different steps. So the first step in validating your podcast topic is getting super clear on who you're speaking to and why your podcast exists. So you want to ask yourself questions like, who is my ideal listener? What problems or challenges are they facing? How can my podcast help them? Why am I passionate about this topic? For example, if you're thinking of starting a podcast on homeschooling while running a business, your audience might be mom entrepreneurs juggling homeschooling and entrepreneurship. Knowing this helps ensure that your content aligns with their needs. If you're not sure who your ideal audience is yet, start by thinking about who you were a few years ago. Many times your audience is just a past version of yourself looking for guidance. Once you've defined your purpose and audience, it's time to research. Here's how to validate your idea through market research. So first, you want to check podcast directories. So search your topic on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other platforms and see if there are similar podcasts. If so, that's a good sign. That means that there's a market for it. But also look at what's missing in the space. Can you bring a fresh angle or fresh perspective to the mix? If so, then that's good news. Second thing you want to do is engage in Facebook groups and communities. Join groups where your ideal listener hangs out. What questions are they asking? If your topic solves those problems, you're on the right track. And lastly, use keyword tools. So websites like Answer the Public or Google Trends can show you what people are searching for related to your topic. If there's a demand, that is a great sign. So now that you've done the research, it's time to test your idea. So here's a few ways to do that before fully committing to a launch. First, you want to poll your audience. So if you have an email list, Instagram following, or Facebook group, ask them. create a poll with a few topic ideas and see what resonates the most. The next thing you can do is create a mini series. So instead of launching a full podcast right away, start with a short 5-episode test run to see how it's received. You could also go live or record a private podcast. So host a live session or private audio series sharing your podcast concept. Engage interest based on feedback and engagement. By testing your idea on a small scale, you can tweak and refine before you go all in. The final step is listen to feedback and be open to adjustments. If people are excited and asking for more, then you're on to something. If there's a lukewarm response, ask yourself, is this topic too broad, too niche? Does it need a different angle? Sometimes a small tweak, like changing your positioning or adding a unique perspective, can make all the difference. So if you've been sitting on a podcast idea, now is the time to validate it. Define your audience, research your niche, test your concept, and listen to feedback. Taking these steps will ensure your podcast has an audience before you even hit record. And if you need support on this journey, I've got you. I have a free podcast launch blueprint that walks you through these different steps and more. You can grab it at podcastingformoms.co/blueprint or check the show notes for the link. If you found this episode helpful, I would love for you to screenshot it and share it on Instagram and tag me at podcastingformoms so that I can cheer you on. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback helps me create more episodes that support you on your podcasting journey. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next week. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.